Hello, everybody, and sorry we're a couple of minutes late for this Friday's A Better Way of Life. Not that you probably know, because um, we normally do this for sort of 8 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, but twice in a little while now we've had one at sort of middle of the afternoon. Just trying it out, really, seeing whether anyone's actually awake on a Friday at this sort of time on places like LinkedIn. Probably not. I wonder whether anyone's awake on LinkedIn these days. Actually,
Well,
there's some of the stuff that's actually getting out onto LinkedIn now, unbelievable. I tell you, folks, last week there was this post that someone called Marianne Mills, might have heard of her, did, and just seemed to go ballistic. And do you know what? It was just asking people to be mischievous and talk about things that they might, as a sort of inconvenient burger, take away from people. So there you go. I can't remember what was it I said that I would take away.
your sock? No, it wasn't socks. Yours. It
No, not
was
stocks. It was far
battery.
better.
The ones that were the top ones. I was going to do like a top thing of it. Actually,
Yeah,
was socks, batteries, leads. Uh, what else was on there? Toilet roll. That was
yeah.
another one that came up. Someone did say to that they lock all the windows and take the keys, and I said you're very brave that like the health and safety people don't come after them.
Yeah,
What other ones were on there? There were some really funny. There was one that somebody that I think Gemma Nice probably would like, because somebody said about taking some toys away, some adult toys, which I thought was quite funny because I thought it was great. There was a really
for anyone who hasn't seen it, here it is. This is the culprit that we were looking at here. You're a burglar, but you can only steal things that mildly inconvenience your victims. What are you taking? I'm stealing the plate that goes in the microwave. I think mine must be. Oh, goodness
I
me! Look
can't
how
remember what yours.
so many people on here. Look how many people on here. 805 comments, 2 reposts. Only 2 reposts. I think that's quite disgusting.
We will get
Uh,
people. We will get people talking about training in this way. We've just got to like coach them into it
yeah,
or
there
train
we
them
go.
into it. Maybe.
We
I
just
can't
need.
remember what you said. I need to find it out now.
Yeah, it
Um,
got lots of laughs anyway. I mean,
and do you know what? That was a Sunday post. It was very innocently I put it out,
mm,
and it went a little bit wild.
it did go. It did go very wild.
It's nice though. It was not. I tell you what was nice. I did add a little bit of like information stuff in. I said to people, "What would you use
Yeah,
if you were the person that was stolen off? What would you use instead?" So it got people thinking, and that's why the person that said about the toilet roll also said they would use the odd socks, because I said about odd socks, so they would use the odd sock as toilet roll.
ah, I see.
So it's
And
good to see how adaptable people were. That if they had this taken about, but it is interesting though, because it does make you stop and think. Like if you always think like a remote control doesn't seem like it's something that's inconvenient, but it is when the kids have nicked them and there's no batteries left.
yeah,
You do then scout around the house looking for anything that might have batteries in it, which wasn't meant to be read.
exactly, exactly that. So I just feel like people are getting, in a way, they are getting sort of like slightly bored on LinkedIn at the moment, and maybe
So I've
that's.
got a cup of tea being brought to me for
Oh,
my
that's very nice. That's
my
very
son's
nice.
just bought me a cup of tea. Thank you.
I think
I think it was a nice breakup from. I said to you earlier. There's rowing, there's satire, there's people just causing like arguing about stuff just for the sake of it. I just had a conversation with a potential client just now, and we were on the same page. That it was like people just seem to sometimes be rowing about stuff that just doesn't need to
yeah.
be. But why is that background on like that?
Well,
Um,
I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that, because this is it really. I just feel like uh, this will be sort of something for next week. Would be something along this line. Let's just see if I can bring it up here. Maybe for next week we can have dogs dressed up as characters.
Oh God, don't go and buy Lottie something then.
Yeah, can we have that for next week on LinkedIn? Maybe that's.
I did think though, just before we go on to the serious stuff, I know I sound almost like a bit like a hypocrite because I often say there's so much other stuff out there. And it's not. I think it's just that it does feel like there just seems to be a lot of arguing, but also a lot of just like stuff. But it's nice if the stuff brings people together. I had conversations with people, and there was, I said to you, there was a long conversation about what they're called, like iPhone cables or whatever, what you could use. Ethernet. And I learned a lot from that. So I then had conversations with people, and there was like little conversations going off. And so I just think sometimes, and I think you said it earlier on your post, or at some point in time, and you say it quite a lot anyway, like there's got to be some worth to it all. Like all this has to have some sort of worth. We can have fun out there, of course we can, but I want to get to know people. I want to,
and that's important. Let's get to know someone that we already know, but you might not know her, folks. You're
I'm still disappointed because she's not dressed up, and I've said that she has to at some point get dressed up.
That's never ever going to happen. You're never going to get this lady dressed up as Mary Poppins, but she is the Mary Poppins.
She might for my birthday next year.
Of the care sector. No, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen, is it, Paula? It's never going to happen.
I have no plans, but as one of my daughters said, never is a long time. So who knows?
Who gave you that title, the Mary Poppins of the care sector? Who bestowed that upon you?
Yeah, I distinctly remember it was a company, Julie and HWB Mobility. They sell care home furniture and individual chairs and equipment. And I had put on LinkedIn various voluntary roles that I'd just taken on. And so, as you know, LinkedIn, the posts where everything goes bubbles and congratulations. So I'd done a couple of those, and somebody said, "Oh, you're just like Mary Poppins with that in your bag." And then I took another role and said something, and they said, "There goes the Mary Poppins again." And I put it as my strapline on my LinkedIn profile. Mary Poppins of social care asked me what's in my bag, and it just took off. And I think because I'm the grandmother of of the care consultancy, it's very apt.
I think it's incredibly apt.
I love it. I think I was talking to this potential client earlier on about, I was saying about the qualification snob thing, where it came from. And I said to you just earlier on, Graham, I think it really helps when you're trying to connect with clients, or clients are trying to connect with you. I think it's really, really good because you're kind of giving your personality. You know what I mean, aren't you?
It's an identity, isn't it?
Totally. In a world, in sectors or whatever, when there's lots of people doing what you do, what I do, it's great to then have that something that people can associate with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think everybody is always trying to look for that one thing that people connect with them, and some of it comes out with consistently doing something well, doesn't it, over a period of time as well.
Great though, when, like you said, yours was just when they came up with it, and it.
Yeah, and I just put it there as a joke, but then it sort of like really took off. People were asking me about it. Then I themed my website around it. So, and I think it has to fit, doesn't it? It would be, Mary Poppins goes in, works with a family, makes everything good again, and then she flies off to somewhere else. So not only have I got a lot in my bag, so a lot of tools because of my experience, I also fit that image of coming in, helping you put things right, and then sweeping off to another place. So it sort of fits, and I don't have to put on the hat or the boots or the coat. I did have an umbrella.
Well, now it might seem like a bit of an afterthought after we've given the description and you've explained a little bit about where that came from and you know, little elements of what you do. But just for anyone that's out there that hasn't met you before, what absolutely is it that you do?
I'm entitled an independent care quality consultant. So I will work with CQC registered services to audit their quality, monitor their quality, come alongside managers and help and support them to get their services compliant. Sometimes I can just be a sounding board. So I can come in and do a full quality audit, which is also known as a mock inspection, or I can come alongside a manager and help them through difficulties or just support them in doing some of their audits at a particular time. What I'm trying to concentrate on now, because I do see so many managers struggling with priorities and different the difficulties within social care, is trying to support them online. So I have got a new online support platform, and that's sort of being built up, and I can help more people that way. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. And I've, you know, working with quite a few people on collaborations.
Yeah, well, that makes so much sense, because it's always that thing, isn't it, within any business where the business is you, that if you go off and help that customer over there and then you're on site for days and whatever, you can't then be helping those people over there. So it kind of makes sense to get it to a point where you can perhaps help more people, maybe in a slightly different way.
Yes.
Because you know, you then can't necessarily be in such a focused way, whatever, but you can sort of spread the love a little bit.
Well, I think, again, it was based on a lot of inquiries that I had, especially when the single assessment framework was new. So as much as I don't particularly like video, I invested and got over that fear of being on video, and recorded 34 videos, one to go with every quality statement.
Wow.
So for people that do have questions and want some ideas how to be compliant with each quality statement, there's a video there, and that doesn't need that one-to-one. And one of the things that I emphasize is this is affordable support, and it's non-judgmental. Like, I'm not going to laugh at you because you didn't know that, because none of us know everything. And when we start out, it's a big learning curve for everybody. That's where I really want people to know that resource is there.
What I really love, like Paula and I have many a conversation about stuff, all sorts of stuff. Actually, I think it was the Bible this week. Actually, haven't we?
Yeah.
When I was feeling low, and you were feeling low, but here we are on Friday.
66 books. Starts with Genesis, ends with Revelation.
We're both smiling though. It's Friday, and we're both smiling.
Dig a hole in the ground to go to the toilet in Deuteronomy with your stick.
Oh, see, you're very knowledgeable there, Graham. And that, again, it's hygiene laws before hygiene was understood.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but also in Deuteronomy, if you have a balcony, make sure that you have a guardrail. That's in there.
That's it. Health and safety before it was a thing. Yeah.
No, what I love is that all too often, and I've had it said to me, and you kind of touched on it then, when people say, well, what happens if you get big? I go, but I never said I wanted to get big. Like, I never said I wanted to get big. I want to do sorry, my heater's on, I just had to turn it off. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it well, and I want to do it from me, which is very much probably why one of the other reasons why we're friends, is that you want to do it your way, and like you say, in that non-judgmental way. And it's really interesting watching. Graham knows why I'm laughing here. Watching how people change. Do they stay aligned to who they said they would? Because I still think you can. You know, I know that I am losing a lot of work because of people doing it on e-learning, that kind of thing, and I've got to think about what I'm going to do about that without selling my soul, without losing. I have to think I'm losing work. People are doing things that way, so I've got to find a way of offering that, but doing it better. Because you've, like you said, okay, I'm doing that for these people, but when I'm doing that for those people, I can't help those people, and they're going to go elsewhere, maybe get something that's not as good. So the way I look at it is, if I offer something that's a compromise but still within my values, as you did, I can still help them, and then I can help them afterwards. You know, and I think it's so important, and I think it does shine through when you see the people that really do it from the heart, because it's not about getting bigger.
Yes, it honestly is about helping more people, you know, and part of it is convenience. I'm getting older, so driving around the country, again, that takes time. So you can't be helping people again while you're taking time driving. So being able to fit in sort of 6-hour team calls, 6 1-hour calls to help somebody, you can do a lot online now without losing your values. So, you know, that is something to think of, Marianne, because you are good at what you do. And I think the big thing is, it's even if you have an online support system whereby somebody has a video, the key is being able to ask questions of the person that's done that video. And as long as that facility is available, then you are almost providing that personal service again, but in a much more convenient way.
And people are going to have it. The way I look at it is, many organisations now, they literally know that there's an e-learning option. The learners don't necessarily want it. I'll make that clear now. But the way I look at it is that they're going to go for that option anyway. So they might as well buy it from me, where they're getting me.
Quality.
And they're still going to get, because I know that when I do those videos, it's still going to be me talking about the things I talk about in my sessions, the same as that you do. And so they're still getting me. And like you say, always for me, somebody messaged me last night at, well, it was 10 o'clock the other day, somebody, because that's when they were doing their work. I've got ADHD, I was awake. So I was like, don't worry, I'll sort it. Not that second necessarily, but last night, 8 o'clock, oh, I can't upload this, it won't work. And I was like, okay, cool, I won't sort it, but I'll get a man that can. And that's the thing, though, isn't it? You can, and I know there's times I've said to people, even if there's just one thing you can't do, just message me and I can probably like sort it out for you. And that's the difference. That's the difference. I said to this guy today, people can go and buy £150 option or £200 option, but down the line, people ring me up, I'm sure they do with you, and they ask me for advice. I won't charge them for that necessarily, but you're not going to get that from £150 option or £200 option, because
this is I mean, this is getting back to, you know, the crux of the matter, which is, if you're going to put, there's a massive difference between just doing an e-learning course or putting a course out there where it is literally a video, then another video, then another video, and there's no element of two-way communication in it, right? Because, you know, if you go through that and there's something you don't understand, or there's an additional layer of complexity that you want to you know, that's got you stimulated into thinking about or whatever, if you can't then go and ask that question, you can't contextualize it for your business or for what you need. And so totally,
and then you lose interest, don't you? Then you lose interest, lose motivation.
I think also, even I'm having to, I actually today even said it, I said, yeah, I do cost a bit more, but you're getting it. And I know that probably, Paula, that's something that you would, you know, it's getting that happy medium, because I want to be affordable. And if I choose to, then it might be the company smaller, and I would choose to. But now I'm respecting the fact that I say to people, when you're buying from me, you are getting more than you will get from other people. Literally, you're getting more. I know more. I give you more as well. But as I said, down the line, if you pick up the phone to me and ask me for help, because people do, I'm sure they do it with you, you're actually investing in what help you might want in the future from me. Because people go, oh, I didn't know to ask, but I thought of you, Marianne.
Yeah. Do you know what is interesting, and it's on a similar line? I was with my mum yesterday. Now, my mum is in her 80s, and we were talking about social care in general, and I think it was in relation to the government not exempting them from the national insurance, and how that some people will struggle. And my mum, who's 80, not got qualification, left school because she was dyslexic without her leaving certificate at 14. You know what she said to me? She went, they need better training. The carers need better training. Do you know, my dad only had carers because he had dementia before he passed away. And he only had carers for about 2 weeks because he refused to let them in. And the carers just accepted, oh, you don't want us today, Bill, that's okay. And my mum knew just from that short interaction with social care, carers need better training.
Gosh, isn't that, do you know, it's really interesting you say it, because I got into it when I was 16 maybe. I started 17. I was doing what's it called, home care, same. And I remember when you said that, it reminded me, so there's me driving around. So I used to do the bank stuff, so I drive around with my little A to Z.
Yeah,
I probably was back then. And I remember getting to this house, and this lady answered the door, but she had a full-on beard. And I think there are some people as well that can deal with things, and some people that can't. So I do definitely think that some people are suited to care, and some people aren't such. So anyway, I said to her, I've come to see you. Oh, you're not coming to my house, she said. And I said, oh, I'm dreadfully sorry like this. And anyway, she had a go. She, oh, you're not coming here, blah, 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 blah. And sort of had a go at me. And I said, oh, I completely understand. I said, I don't think I'd be happy if somebody knocked on my door and said, I'm here to come and give you a bath. Well, I might if it was Brad Pitt or something, but I'd say, no, I wouldn't be very happy. And I said, is there any chance I can just come in just so that you can sign my form? Because I need my form signed, because if I don't get that signed, I won't get paid. And she was like, okay. So anyway, I got in, we started chatting, and then she said to me, I am really sorry. She said, you're the same age as my granddaughter. And she said, I just felt a bit, I didn't know you. And I said, it's absolutely fine. And she said, maybe for teary now. And I said, would you like me to go? Or, you know, and she said, and she let me do the care. But
wow.
It's me that had that innate in me. But you imagine then if somebody has been trained on those those things, just the things that we see in shops where people just don't have the nice, that stuff.
Yeah.
This isn't the big stuff. It's not the subject stuff.
Yeah. And that's why, again, what you're doing the AAT, teaching people to teach, is really valuable in all industries, because it's as the boss walks around the shop floor, the care home floor, or the fire floor, wherever you've done your training, you need to teach the boss to teach, because they're the ones that are going to pick up those issues that aren't being done properly. So if they can teach their staff, take those opportune moments for those micro teachers, as you teach us to do, that's when quality improves across the board, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's lots of people that can pick up on stuff and then write a report on it or moan at people about it or whatever else, but actually knowing how to disseminate that information properly to everybody else, so that and in an inclusive and non-judgmental way as well, so that it actually is teaching rather than just
You summed it up there, Paula, and I think this is a lot of the, that's why I say there's quite a lot of similarities between training and management or leadership. I think whether it's one and the same or whether it's the attitude somebody takes on, I don't know. But I see quite often, like when you said there about the non-judgmental way, a lot of the time when I see people managing, they manage and they do it in that way. Whereas the leadership bit is, look, I've been there, let me help you through this. It's not them showing off. It's not me. It's not them wagging their finger saying, I'm not going to, I want you to do this. It is very much we're in this together. And that's why I think you do what you do so well, because so much of this stuff is about making people feel safe. Because if people feel safe to mess up, do it wrong, then that's how they learn. Whereas if you're on edge.
Yeah. And to ask before they get it wrong. And I think that's key. It's feeling safe enough to say, I don't quite understand. Can you help me? Can you teach me? And having that skill to be able to teach them at that moment, it's better for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm working out, we've got to get it in here, aims and objectives though. But actually, although I joke when I teach it, that's exactly it. If somebody says to me, I don't get it, I'm able to say, what is it about it you don't get? Because there's no point in teaching the whole thing again.
Yeah.
Which bit was it? Or was it the how to do it, or the understanding bit, or the whatever bit?
Well, I see this when you talk to people, and also like, when I see like messages on your social media and whatever, the one thing that people don't get is that you're training people in training. Because the first question they always go is, training in what? Training. What? It's almost like it really takes a lot of computing that for a lot of people. You're training people in training, but surely that's just training, right? It's like, but it's almost like they feel like training is just something that you can just do.
Well, it is. Come on, it is.
But this is like the whole accidental manager thing, right? It's like saying to people, manage, right? Right. Okay. Well, why can't you manage? Well, because. What do you mean? Well, because it's managing. You just manage people, but you don't have the skills to manage people. People don't have the skills to train, and therefore this is the big problem.
People are being set up. Do you see, Paula, a lot of the time when you go in, almost people are being set up, not necessarily purposefully set up, but they are being set up to
fail
because they're not equipped, whether it's training or managing. I literally think those are the two things that people literally just get shoved into and told, off we go.
Yeah, particularly in the care sector, because there's so many different there's so many different reasons why a care place will need a manager, whether that's financial, bank rates, CQC, inspection, well-led, that sort of thing. So people are asked to step in roles, and yes, we'll give you training, but then it never happens, or it's not good quality training. And I think, 99% of care managers have been carers or worked in the caring professions, and sometimes when I say they care too much, I don't mean they care too much. The emphasis is on care rather than managing, and that then can be detrimental to the care that is given, because it then becomes a democracy. And, a care home is not a democracy. You have to have some leadership. You can't please all the people all the time.
No, and if it's not what I've seen before, again, there's a lot of parallels here, that teaching assistants end up stepping into teaching roles. Some of the bits are the same, but they're not the same role. Somebody that works as a teaching assistant, that's in a more, I was going to say palliative then, pastoral, completely the wrong thing. It's a more pastoral care thing. They don't necessarily want to be leading a class. So to push somebody, and it is happening more and more, where teaching assistants then are taking classes, the same as with what they're called,
HCA.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's unfair then to push somebody, or somebody being pushed into that, when that's not ever what they wanted to do. I mean, I was at home, I was doing some care work at, and when I went in, you know, when you get a feel for somewhere quite quickly, don't you? What's going on? And I could see this poor manager. She was absolutely tearing her hair out. She was trying to do everything, and not particularly happy. You could see the staff, you get a feel for it in training, what's going on. If you ever want to know anything that's going on in a staff team, get a trainer to tell you the vibe, because they'll know. And there was a guy that put a post on, I don't know if you saw it, about sports car. He had like an expensive car and was saying about the care sector. This might be a bit controversial, but it is actually. Did you see it? And my take on it was that I do see it. But quite often the big shiny, the homes that are outstanding, that are very shiny. I'm not saying the care's not good, but it is wonderful.
It's not always reflective, is it?
No. And then you get the other end of the scale where you get like home there. You ask the staff, do you ever see the owner? Invariably, it's no. Invariably, they've got lots of homes. Invariably, they go under and then don't pay the trainer. And then the staff, though, are trying their utmost to try and keep, the manager is tearing their hair out, trying to keep everybody happy, as you said. The carers are hanging on in there because they're loyal and they love the client service users or whatever. And then somewhere in the middle, I would say you've probably got people that are homeowners that are getting their hands dirty. They've probably worked in care. They'll probably never make their million. They probably don't want to because they'd feel bad anyway, because they'd be making their million out of care. Those are the ones I think that do it, and they probably aren't driving the expensive car.
No, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, as they say. And, you know, environment doesn't always reflect care, and ownership doesn't always, you know, management doesn't always reflect poor ownership. There are so many different links into good care as to what needs to happen. But that's again, it's exactly what I do. I work between providers that may not actually be from the care sector, who have bought a care home or set up a care business. Then you've got a registered manager who understands what needs to be done, but keeps getting told by a provider, no, we want this. And very often I end up as a mediator, as to say, look, your manager is correct, but let me show you how we can achieve this in the way that the provider wants. And, you know, it can be done. 99% of the time it can be done. But it does need investment and interest.
Because so many have got their agenda in a way. I see it, and there's so many parallels. I see it quite often that people see me, yes, I do deliver the 80, that's what I do, but then there's the consultancy side of it. And at times I've sort of, if the manager is interested and they do come into the training, which sometimes they will, to see what's going on, and they'll say, right, where are we going to take this? We've paid for Marianne to come in now, but where? And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're actually doing this. Because then often I will then be that go-between that says, like you said, actually, if you want to achieve this, then this is what they're going to have or need or whatever. And it takes Mary Poppins or the qualifications staff to come in to say, look,
yes,
this is what's needed.
Yeah. It's that experience.
And we're going to have more of these, more need for this as we go on as well, because we're all getting older. And, you know, none of us are really thinking about what care we need, but we should do. In the same way that we should think about pensions and whatever. You may end up coming down here soon to Chard, because we've got 2 new care homes being built here at the moment. We've got a 70-bed facility being built and a 66-bed facility being built right at this moment. It's causing utter chaos in Chard. That's why we've got roads being dug up for 6 months. But we're going to have it. Now, listen, talking about training, Marianne, we've been training all week our new apprentice for this show. because we, you know, we're busy people. We can't do this all the time, right? And we do this like every week. So we've been training up our new apprentice, who is called Chad GPT. All right. And we've given him, but basically given him, Chad, one thing to do this week, which is to go and think of one question to ask Paula, right, for this interview. So let's see what Chad's come up with. There you are. So this is the question of the week from Chad GPT. This is if you could change one thing about the care sector overnight, what would it be and why? Very good, Chad.
Yeah, I don't know, it's particularly the care sector. What I would love to change in society in general is the value that people put on vulnerable people. You know, at the moment, if you have a learning disability, if you're elderly, if you're young, if you don't have, if you're not contributing to the government GDP in some way, it's almost like you have no value. And I think once we start valuing our elderly and people who have got learning disabilities, then we will value the care sector, we will value the staff in the care sector, we will value those that provide care. I do understand what the government's trying to do, because I think there are charlatans in every industry that are trying to, you know, they exploit the system. They go offshore with all their profits and things like that. I've always been a supporter of sort of profit regulation, not particularly capping and not limitation, but profit regulation to make sure anything from healthcare stays within healthcare. So any profits, and that, you know, the provider can come in and be the manager, do their monthly visits and get paid for it. You know, we can all earn good wages from the profit, but it shouldn't go to uninvolved shareholders. I've always said that. So if we can value people, so that we value the staff and value the people that provide the care, that's what I'd love to see changed. I really would.
I think we all stepped out of, like, I know when I was doing care work when I was younger, whenever I was in a hurry, I'd always stop and go, how would I feel if somebody was doing this for mum and dad? And it always made me just take it. And that's why I left teaching. I left teaching because I said, I'm not teaching these young people the way I'd want my children to be taught. And that's why I got out. And I think if people actually stepped out of it, you know, whether it's, or to think about, this could be me one day.
Yeah.
How would I want to be? And it's amazing how many people change, don't they, when something happens to them, or somebody they love, but then they change.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I don't know whether both of you remember a sort of documentary that was probably on about 2 years ago now, where they took a group of young people and they put them into an old people's care home. Do you remember that?
Vaguely like that. Yeah.
So I think there was 2 different groups to see what the young people would gain out of the old people that were there, and what the old people would gain out of the young people, and it was brilliant. They both gained so much or whatever. But almost wonder, like, you know, we set up these things on TV, we set up these experiences where we put people in a situation and then see what they would learn from it, you know, like Paddy McGuinness and his island at the moment, where we put people on an island and then put temptations in front of them to see what, you know, that we learn about human behavior. Perhaps we need to do more where we actually take groups of people from an office and put them in a care home and go, right, you're going to help care for people for a day, and just see what the hell it's like.
It does make. I was speaking to a guy once, and it was just about terms of potential training, and we got talking, and I was like to know what their background is and stuff, and then he said, oh, I'm from an accountancy background, and I said, oh, right, that's interesting that you've, you know, and he said, yeah, he said, my dad had Parkinson's, and he said he was receiving care, and so something happened. But anyway, eventually, it went round. The carers were in the garden and they weren't doing what they should have been. They were smoking or whatever. That isn't all carers, but it was in this situation.
Yeah.
And in the end, he said I think he turned up. His dad had fallen out of bed because they'd gone and they hadn't put the drink where it should have been or whatever. I think his dad died in the end, but I don't know if it's because of that. But in the end, he said, he left accountancy and set up. And he said, I had to. I absolutely had to.
Yeah.
So I think once people have worked had experience of the care sector like that, changes them.
And I don't think it's just the care sector, is it? I think this is like lots of different things in life. I just think that until people have experienced life on the other side, they don't have any appreciation for it. And I think that's what you were saying, really.
Yeah, and that's it. You don't need care until you are elderly or until you've had a brain injury, an accident, or you've got somebody with a learning disability, something like that. So you don't know until it's too late. And then the people coming behind, the young people, they don't value the old, because you're old at 30, aren't you, to a teenager? But
I'm ancient.
Well, I think it's important. I think it's important to have these conversations. Might we go over to Ernie? I must get Ernie on.
Love Ernie.
Yeah.
Must get Ernie on. But quite often, like, Oliver comes over. He brought he's off today because it's Inset Day. He took his VR over because I went over to have a cup of tea with Ernie, and I said, "Oh, I need to make a bolognese." So I took the stuff over and I cooked. Oliver came over. The dog comes over as well, and I just think he's learned so much from me. I've learned from him. The boys, Oliver insists on every time we go over and says, "Why do you wear braces?" He's still fascinated with Ernest's braces because he just is. And I just love it though, because they just learn.
Ernie says, because otherwise my trousers would fall down.
Exactly. He said, "My stomach's too big." But I just think, if we have it, and that's what I love about your polls as well. You do something that I think a lot of people don't do, which is just having a conversation to learn what the other person thinks. Not for a row, but literally just a conversation.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it goes beyond. It's having a conversation, but it's even going beyond that. It's about getting people to think again.
Oh yes.
Right, because so much of what people do these days is they just sit in rather than think. They just don't think. It's the same.
Spoon-fed. Yeah.
It's the same conversation I have with musicians and artists that come on the music podcast about music. One of the big things that really grates with musicians is they will spend 2 years writing an album, pouring their heart and soul into this, these pieces of music that they then put out to the world, only for people to just hear it, not listen to it, right? And actually listening is a skill, right? In the same way it's a skill in a conversation. Listening to music, taking the time to actually listen to it, is a skill which we are beginning to lose because we bite-size everything and push it out and just like have it in the background, in the ether, and just like in a big rush to get to the next thing. We are the, do you know what? Will.i.am, I think I've said this before, he came out with something and he's absolutely right? And you wouldn't think Will.i.am's the great, theologian of our times, but he did say it is scary the amount of effort we are putting into training AI compared with the amount of effort we are putting into training and educating our kids. He is absolutely right on that. It's scary.
I find it interesting that things like, the book, The Secret Garden, it's a classic. That's a children's book that was written, and what Katie did, those were children's books. Now you wouldn't find an adult that very often would sit and read through them.
What's interesting about that is I know that Oliver, he said he struggles to concentrate, which I get. I can't be a hypocrite with this because I do. However, we've had to sort of sit and say, right, okay, let's limit. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like he's been, and I keep saying hoovering the garden, mowing the lawn, because we've got visitors coming tomorrow, and he's mowed it about 3 times within its inch of its life, I think. So when he's actually got stuff to do, he's amazing. Like he's really occupied, and I think that I've seen this week somebody having a go about how parents shift blame, and how when kids were years ago when people were parenting, and I said you can't compare. Like you literally can't compare, because I never saw my parents when I was a child because I was out doing stuff. Did they feel bad they didn't see me? Probably not. But do I feel bad if I don't see mine? No, I do then, because I think, oh my God, I'm thinking of me. Oh, I'm working, I'm out. What are they doing? But actually, a lot of this with kids is that they don't go to school around kids because of the not being able to get into a local school and all this kind of stuff. So
you know what? I think you're right. I actually think a lot of parents these days are better parents, right? Because I think actually a lot of my parents' generation of parents were actually pretty poor parents, and actually
you brought each other up, I think, didn't you?
Sorry.
I think kids, like I think everybody just brought.
Well, I think we did go off. I think we, in some ways, I think we did go off to the rec and play football for hours, and no one really gave a monkeys where we were, or we were doing this for hours and whatever. And the parents got on with work or socializing, or you know, learning how to make chocolate. What you call them, fountains, and you know, dipping. It was just, you know, lots of stuff. You going out and buying microwaves for the first time, as they did back then, right? But I don't think it's easy to parent these days. I think there's a lot of things that you've got to balance and all of that sort of thing. However, the thing is that we did grow up in a time where you had to be more patient about things, right? And therefore, actually, you had to be resilient in learning as well. You had to wait for the TV to warm up when I was a kid. You had to, if you wanted to watch the TV, you had to sit there and hold the aerial half the time. You had to retune it and hold the, you know, put a bit of tape on it to stop. Everything is now instant.
But the thing is, you also can't unknow. I hear a lot of people blaming young people for stuff, and I said, but getting back to the book thing, I remember, it's not a book, but it was a film. I remember sitting down with Samuel, who's nearly 17 now. I don't know how he got to that age. And we were watching Alice in Wonderland, but it was the old one. I think there's been a new one since. And also Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but again, the first one. And he said, I much prefer all of the old stuff. And they do, because all this other, is it CGI? I don't know what it's called, all that stuff.
Because it does it for you. It does it for you.
Does anybody remember The Worst Witch? Not the new one, but the 1 year ago. Your daughters, probably Paula, might have watched it. And I absolutely loved it. It was about the worst witch they have now. And she's, I think it's Mildred Hubble or something. And they're in this castle, and they go to school, and they have Bunsen burners, and then they make recipes, and then they have broomstick lessons, and they're running around this castle. And it was absolutely basic, but I loved it. On the one, they actually made the broom go up, and I like.
Well, this is it. This is it. If the thing is, if you remember like old kids' TV shows or whatever, they were so slow. Very little happened, right? And yet we sat absolutely mesmerized by it, right? Everything these days has to be cut screen this and something else is going on. I mean, if you sit in front of anything my kids would watch now that they think is like cool and exciting, you just get a migraine within 2 minutes, because it's just like.
But I don't think it's not really their fault. There's something, Graham, I'm going to share, and I think we put it on next one just at the beginning. My friend shared something on Facebook, and it was this guy who I have to say his name. He basically filmed stuff back 1985 with his sister, sometimes his mum, and they would lip sync, and they would like dance to stuff. Absolutely raw. And he's now, and I look in a minute, got like, he does all sorts of stuff. It's something weird, his name is. And someone said this is great because it's raw. Like nowadays, there'd have been 20 cuts to get it perfect. And I remember dancing in my bedroom and singing, oh, what's it called? Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. What's that song?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sing because I can't. But we used to make routines up and stuff. And I think kids want to do this stuff.
I think kids still do this if they're encouraged to do it.
If parents don't try and make them do it perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think kids still do. I think they, you know, but I think we just have to be conscious that the way that information is presented to all of us now. Yeah, exactly.
That was Oliver sat with me while I was working yesterday.
Yeah, see, Marianne, for the sake of inclusion, is holding up a doodle of what can only be described as, it looks like almost like a pineapple head, but with like feathers out the top.
I think it was a pineapple, I think.
It is a pineapple head, which is also a great song by Crowded House. And is that a burger on that side as well? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But then you've got the other side, which he's loving French at the moment. So I was trying to keep him a bit occupied. So I went onto AI, and this is how you can wonderfully use it. And because he's fast, he's loving it. I came up with a quiz. So I did some bits on here, and then on the other side, I gave him a fill in the gap quiz.
There's a good idea.
The teacher right there.
You know what? I think you've just come up with a great business idea for the summer holidays. We should do summer holiday shows for kids. That would be great. You could do. You could do online teaching for kids in the summer holidays where they learn something in a fun way.
But I think the whole of the AI
we can get Paula in to teach them all about the care sector.
The whole AI thing, I think it is great, but it's like all these things, isn't it? It depends how.
It's a tool.
It's a tool, and it's not like the baddie. But it's like everything. It's like you said, if we're spending
technology is never the baddie, it's always humans. Technology does nothing wrong because it's in the hands of humans. Yeah. It's what you do with technology. And do you know what? At the end of the day, if we're not listening properly, if we're not thinking properly, if we're not creating properly, and we're just being lazy all the time, there's only one person that you can blame for that. And that's ourselves. That's the simple matter of it. We need people to start taking more responsibility for themselves. In fact, stop looking at, that's one thing that I find quite disturbing on social media sometimes, especially LinkedIn, is where people start blaming it on everything else. It's not. You have to start with yourself. You have to start with yourself and say, actually, I need to do better at this. If I am not thinking, why am I not thinking? If I am not learning, why am I not learning? If I am not spending time, growing, why am I not doing it? There's no.
Sorry, yeah, we both know Lucy, don't we? She always says, you cannot expect people to just come and rescue you. You have to find solutions to whatever, the problem.
I put the post yesterday with that cup. I've had not bad time, because that sounds like pity party, but because I don't post about it, of course it's not going on, is it? But I just thought it was quite pertinent for me. Yes, I saw that thing. It was Positive Pants. I just came out of my counselling. And, I had been feeling like low. Somebody told me something the day before, though, and I think if everybody just was a little bit kinder and we tried to help ourselves, the whole world. I was driving back from the gym yesterday. I let 4 people out at individual times. Nobody died. I wasn't late. And I just think if we all did a little bit of something for, like, you've helped me, Paula, Graham, you've helped me. I hope I would help people. If people just did that a little bit more, like, it would be nice, like, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it certainly would. And maybe we'd, maybe that would help the care sector as well. Just maybe as I said earlier, I think one of the things you ought to start offering, Paula, is to take groups of people out of businesses. They can pay you for the experience and take them into a care home to show them what goes on in a care home and what's really involved in that. And let's grow sort of age awareness, right?
Yeah,
Because I think that would be great. We should become
Yeah.
more age aware in the same way that we do sort of disability confidence. We should become age confident as well.
No, there is a website. I'm working with a provider that has joined up to the Neighbourly website. Don't know whether you've heard of that. And that asks for volunteers to come and help businesses or charities. So this charity care home that I'm working at, they've signed up and they've had 3 lots of adult volunteers from Virgin and O2 head office by us. Now, they're doing the garden and they help re-landscape and put the garden back into shape, because you don't need the DBS if you're outside and being supervised. But the volunteers aren't coming to do the inside work, sit with people and read books to them or crafts and things. And that's again what we probably need to make that easier for people.
Because I wanted to go down and speak about taking Lottie into the care home. There's 2 care homes down the road, because I absolutely know she'd love it and they'd love it.
Yeah.
It's on my to-do list to do that, because I just think it would be wonderful. It's probably red tape that says we can't do it, but she obviously isn't going to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, Paula. And do you know what, when volunteers do things, it brings an absolute smile to your face. Who's ever gone through on the way to London? Who's ever gone through Temple Combe as a station? You've been through Temple Combe?
No, don't
Can't
think
afford to go to London on the train. No.
Can I suggest that at some point you do it? So Temple Combe is looked after by, that station's looked after by volunteers, and it's it's absolutely beautiful. And they even like
pride in it then, don't they?
It's even got like, I remember like at Christmas time, they even like in the little hut there, they were like doing mulled wine for people. They do cups of tea for people. It's just brilliant, and it just brings a smile to everybody's face. So I think we should do more of that, more volunteering in society.
I know Ronald McDonald House that I'm ambassador for. I obviously go and help down there, but they get the volunteers that come in, and when they come from the banks, and I know they have a certain amount of days they're allowed to give, but it is really wonderful when you see people give back. Like I'm doing my Easter egg collection again, and I love it because I do it, and it means that other people can do a bit of giving in whatever way.
Yeah.
But smile on.
There you go. I was just trying to find a little photo of Temple Combe Station. See if
I'm desperate to see it now.
Yes, here we are. I've managed to find a nice little photo of Temple Combe Station. Let's see if I can share this with everybody. That's kind of an ending point today, folks. Here we are, a little photo.
Stop. Can I say something quickly? This guy's weird Paul, his name is. You know, I said about these things.
Oh yeah.
They do this. I don't know if I've got my sound.
There we are. There's Temple Combe Station. Isn't that lovely?
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it's got all these flowers and whatever, and then on the other side they've got this little modern bit which they've created, but it explains to you there that it's looked after by volunteers, and they do all of this bits and pieces and plantings and stuff and whatever. And I just think it's marvelous, and it brings a smile to my face every time I go through there. So if anyone else gets a chance, as we leave you today, want to say a massive thank you to Paula for coming on and talking. If what Paula's been talking about is of interest to you, then please do. If you're a care home and you want some advice, you want your hand held through your CQC, which is an absolute nightmare of a process, then please do. And you could come and join me, Marianne, and indeed Paula, who's in there as well, in our Better Way of Life group, which is here. And we've got, so much for you to join, like courses. You can find out all of these different things, and you can have conversations, which is great about meaningful stuff, not just the price of bread. So we leave that with you. If you want more information on that, abetterwayoflife.co.uk. We will be back same time. Well, maybe a different time. Don't know. We haven't sorted it out yet. But next week, anyway, it will definitely be next week with more of the same. But until then, bye for now.
Bye.